You love yoga so much that you're thinking of teaching it. Well, my friends, here are some things that I wish I knew before I started teaching yoga over 2 decades ago. I'm IBrea Johnson of Heart Bones Yoga and Yoga Teacher Tips, and I am here to give you some really helpful yoga teacher tips, especially if you're thinking about taking a yoga teacher training. So as always, press subscribe, press that like button so that you can get lots of more information. But let's get right into these important topics and these important things about what to know before you start your teacher training. Now, in no particular order, I'm going to go through some of the top things that you need to know, and if you can etch these things into your heart and feel really clear about them before you start your teacher training, you are going to do so much better and you're going to enjoy the process a lot more. So the very first one that I want to cover is, I think, one that is maybe in the back of our minds and doesn't get addressed very often. And it's, well, what if I can't do all the poses I'm being taught to teach? My body won't let me do it, I'm of an age that's harder, or whatever the myriad of reasons why you may not be able to do all the poses. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's okay. If you're taking a teacher training that tells you you need to be able to do all the poses in order to teach them, that's going to be a red flag. And I'm going to suggest, with care and love, to maybe search out a yoga teacher training that doesn't reinforce able-bodied stereotypes like this. A good teacher can know how to deconstruct and adapt different poses. So just because your body doesn't let you do all the poses doesn't mean you can't understand how to teach it for other people and other bodies. So first and foremost, do not worry about it if you cannot do all the poses. Hopefully in your yoga teacher training, it's focusing on applied anatomy, focusing on deconstructing the poses, and really centering the ability to adapt the poses to the people rather than the people to the poses. So again, my friends, if your teacher training does not emphasize this and instead force the people into the pose, then please search out a more inclusive training out there. Another important thing to think about before you start your teacher training is you are going to burn out at some point. This is totally normal. No matter if your yoga teacher training is a 1-month intensive or spaced out over 7, 8 months to a year, there's always going to be a point where your brain just cannot handle that much more information. Because we often go into these trainings really excited, a little bit nervous, and that brings a lot of energy in the body, right? We're like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm taking this leap of faith, I'm so excited. And then you go in and you meet new people and you're learning all the information, and again, you're feeling super excited. And then you are going to hit a wall. And when you do, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say confidently, when you hit that wall, do not give up, my friends. Do not give up. This is the point where many people are like, oh my God, I'm not having fun anymore. There's too much information. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know who I am anymore. Whatever the things are, trust that this is a moment in time, this is normal, and it's going to pass. So here's some recommendations. If you're in that inevitable, like, I'm at my wall, I can't do this anymore, I'm burnt out, take a rest. Take a break. Don't think about yoga for a little bit. Go for a nice long walk. Take a vacation. Move your body, dance. Do something different that's going to reconnect and re-energize you so that when you have to show up to the next class for your training, when you have to do your homework or practice teaching or whatever it might be, you're going to have more capacity to take care of yourself. So let that moment of burnout and, oh, this is just so much feeling, let that just be a beautiful gift and reminder for yourself that, all right, I'm allowed to take a pause. I'm allowed to integrate everything that I've been doing so far and then come back and maybe take it a little bit easier. This is a really important thing. Burnout will happen. Overwhelm will happen. It's a lot. And it's okay, and it's not reflective of who you are and where you're at and your ability to be a good teacher. This is just a normal part of the process. Now, speaking of process, this is another really important part. Trust the process. I have taught so many trainings over the years, and I always see at some point people go into overwhelm, they go into doubt, and then they start really, I think, unconsciously expecting that they should know things by now. whatever by now is. So again, if that's a 1-month training or a 7 or 8 month training, I think around that midpoint, when we start getting a little bit tired and overwhelmed and we've had so much information, we start doubting the process. So I really want to have this super clear for us. When you say yes to a teacher training, you're saying yes to a process. You're saying yes to a process of learning where there's not going to be black and white answers. There's not going to be a formula for you. And well, hopefully, if you are taking a teacher training that's giving you formulaic answers and ways of teaching, that can be a little bit questionable, because what is yoga? Yoga is this practice of self-awareness and refinement. And when we go into a yoga teacher training, we're learning more about ourselves, and we're learning more about this wisdom tradition of yoga. And that's not binary, that's not black and white. So you're in this process of diving deeper. And so please do not expect that you're going to understand and get everything right away, or even by the time you graduate. This is okay and this is normal. You are in a process. Give yourself the time and give yourself the grace and space to make mistakes, to learn, to explore, to be curious, to, again, not know everything. Because you will, at different points of your training, have moments of just like, yes, light bulb awareness. And those are so great. Treasure those when they happen. And at the same time, you're going to have moments of total confusion. Your brain is overloaded and not really knowing anymore, or being confused on what you thought you used to know, and now you know this, and which makes sense, and da da da. This is, again, all normal and all okay. You are in a process, and you don't have to know everything. Your teacher training, as good as it will be, even the best teacher training in the world, will not equip you to know everything, to be the perfect teacher. Because A, you'll never know everything. Yoga is a wisdom tradition. It's not a finite amount of knowledge that has an end goal or anything like that, right? Yoga is a practice of self-awareness, and no teacher training in the world will cover it all, which is good, which is beautiful. So if you can go into your teacher training knowing that this is just a moment in time, this is a process where you get to dive in deeper and know something and improve your knowledge, and at the same time know that you're not going to know everything in the end, so good. It takes the pressure off, because I think we unconsciously come into a training with these expectations and sense of pressure of like, well, I'm doing a teacher training, I'm going to know everything, and I'm going to be a great teacher, and I'm going to have the list and the Let those expectations go a bit. Give yourself the space to be curious of the process. Your training is probably one of many, whether it's only one yoga teacher training that you ever do, and you do subsequent workshops and educations, because a good yoga teacher is always learning. You're always taking more education in some form or another. So your YTT, your yoga teacher training, is just one moment in time of learning and exploration where you don't have to know it all. You can't simply know it all. So let's take a big deep breath and remember that and continue talking about some of these other points. It's really important to know, before you start your teacher training, that there are no mistakes. So what does that mean? Okay, well, for example, in our Heart and Bones yoga teacher trainings, we start our course. That's one of the very first things we teach our beautiful community, is that there are no mistakes, because we know that people are coming into the training with high expectations, whether they realize it or not, right? We have expectations on ourselves to, well, at the end of this training, I'm going to be certified, and I'm going to be good, and I'm going to know all this stuff. And like, yes, hopefully we know stuff at the end of a training, right? We're going to do that. But in the process of learning, the process of understanding things requires mistakes, requires like messing up, not getting things right, because that's part of learning. So when I say there are no mistakes, I actually mean there's going to be a million mistakes. But the story we have around what our perception of mistakes is the important thing. So make a million mistakes. Don't be afraid to look silly. Don't be afraid to ask all the questions. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because those are the things that help us grow as a teacher. They help us grow as a person, because your yoga teacher training isn't just all about yoga poses, right? Your yoga teacher training and your practice of yoga is about yoga. And what is yoga? This practice of self-awareness. So there's no mistakes when we're coming into something open-minded, open-hearted, right? Vulnerable, willing to make mistakes, willing to evolve and grow with grace, kindness, and compassion. And I sincerely hope that you find a teacher training that also talks about this stuff and centers that awareness, because I know there's other trainings out there because they're really influenced by the systems and school education that we all have in this world, where it's performance, testing, measuring, examinations, right? You have to be an expert. And that sets us up for being worried about mistakes. But instead, when we can enjoy yoga teacher trainings that allow space for us to all mess up, including your teachers, because we are all human, that learning environment is so powerful. And then guess what? It helps you become a better teacher, because then you bring that same environment into your classes when you start teaching. You start to be able to hold space for the people in your classes to make mistakes, so to speak, where they can explore and do something, again, in air quotes, wrong. Because it's play, it's curiosity. There's no performance in yoga. So please remember that one. There are no mistakes. And last but certainly not least, remember to have fun. I know that one seems kind of obvious, but we go into it again, as I've mentioned, with expectations, with worries, with fears, with imposter syndrome, with doubts. All those stories about ourselves show up when we start something new. Starting new things is vulnerable, right? Many of us will have causes and conditioning in our life and in our brains and in our bodies of thinking that we're not going to be good enough, or comparison. All these things are absolutely going to arise as you go through this practice and you go through this training. And hopefully the tools of yoga give you the insight and compassion to work with all of those things of the mind. And while those things arise, also remember, this isn't brain surgery. Yoga isn't brain surgery. You as a yoga teacher, you as a yoga practitioner are allowed to have fun. You're allowed to have fun while learning. You're allowed to have fun while teaching. You're allowed to enjoy the process of making mistakes, so to speak. You're allowed to enjoy the process of meeting new friends and community in your teacher training, of having those fun moments of total doubt and I don't understand this, and then you're like, oh, I finally understand that thing that I was struggling with. Like, all these things are part of the process. And so most importantly, have fun, because there's a part of you that said yes to teacher training. There's a part of you that's feeling called to help and support and teach others, and so that they have the benefit of this practice that you got. Listen to that part of you that said yes. Let that be your through line when the inevitable doubts come up through the training, when you hit the wall at some point and you feel like, why am I even doing this? Remember, come back to this video, bookmark this video and remind yourself as many times as you want. This is a moment in time in your yoga journey. This is going to be a moment in time in your life journey. So embrace it. Step into it with your whole heart. Because once you start teaching, those same stories are probably going to come up again, and then you'll have had that practice a bit of working with your doubts and fears, remembering, oh yeah, right, this can be playful. This is also fun. This isn't brain surgery. If this helped you, leave a comment. Please let me know. I'd love to hear that. And if anybody has any additions that you've found, if you've already been teaching yoga and there were things that you wished you had learned before you started yoga, throw them into the comments. Thank you as always for being here. Good luck in your yoga teacher training. And of course, there's always the Heart and Bones yoga teacher training. It's online. It's 300, 200 hours. And we've got a beautiful community around the world. We do a yearly intake every October. And then you can actually start the course at any point as well, because it's anatomy informed, it's inclusive, we center mistakes, right? Remember, there are no mistakes. We encourage everybody to grow and laugh and learn and have fun together. So if this sounds exciting, go to the links below. But otherwise, enjoy your journey. And thank you for teaching yoga and contributing to the good in the world.